And we're live. Yeah, so the video quality may be a little bit different. I mean, the colors and everything, it may not be as nice, but it will be moving. So I think
it was moving last week.
Yes. Yeah, after that initial freeze, it started back up. So yeah, we're giving this other adapter a try to because I read a lot. The funny thing is the expensive like HDMI adapters to HDMI to USB, they have a lot of problems, and it may just be because Windows, bigger companies, Windows says, you have to license this and you have to be whatever that special certification is. And illegal Chinese companies are just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, we'll just steal your specs and make a better driver. Anyhow, enough of that. So we are live and doing this. Cool. Yeah. So everything seems to be okay. So here's a little clue about what the types of things we're going to be talking about today, not specifically Necromunda.
I'm excited.
But yeah, we will see. All right, well, let's do this. Welcome to the Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And this week on the Weekly,
I'm excited.
5 Parsecs from Home, Rain in Hell, and Star Wars Legally Sucks.
Okay, well, we all knew that, buddy. So, Rain in Hell.
Yes.
I suppose it's coming up. AIN or EIGN, or however you spell it.
REIN, yeah. So to conquer or rule, like rule in hell. Yes. So very wargame heavy episode this week.
That's fun.
So yeah, let's start with 5 Parsecs from Home. So this is actually a Modiphius release.
Okay.
So this will be the 3rd edition of 5 Parsecs from Home, and it is a solo adventure wargame in a sci-fi setting. The creator is a wargamer, and I think more historical wargamer. But this is something that they've been working on for a while. So Nordic Weasel Games is the company that's doing it, and Ivan Sorensen is the designer himself. And I looked him up on the wargaming, one of the wargaming sites, and he does a lot of historical stuff, like a lot of historical scenarios and things. So this is something a little bit different, but also it has a lot of experience with the tabletop, and so I think it's going to be a well thought out game. And people have been loving it since the 1st edition.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so previously it's been available only as a PDF, I believe, and now it's got some nice art, nice cover art, and nice layout and graphic design because Modiphius is publishing it. So it will be a hardback book. So 184 full color pages, and so packed with a full color art, and you also get a free PDF. And the thing that I heard that's nice that Modiphius is doing is no matter where you buy the book, you show them the invoice for purchasing the book, they'll send you the PDF.
Okay. So kind of like a bits and mortar kind of thing.
Yeah. So that's nice that they know how useful that would be. And because this is a solo game, you might want to be able to print pages off and things a little more easily. And also because the character sheets and ship sheets and everything are inside. So it's an RPG light adventure war game with an experience system with miniatures. And so miniatures agnostic, like a lot of the recent releases. And the thing that sounds fun about it, it's a D6 system for the combat, but there are D100 tables. So a lot of variety about what types of enemies, what types of things you're doing. And there's a campaign system, and you have specific scenarios where you're going into, steal data to, it's all kind of heisty sounding scenarios. And the thing that's motivating that is you have a ship, and the ship is probably about as much of a character as the rest of your crew. So you have a crew and a ship, and the ship needs, of course, upgrading and repairs. And so you're always in debt, and that's motivating you to keep going out and doing things and taking bigger risks for having bigger rewards of upgrading your ship to different, specs and things.
I'm smiling because it's a debt runner game.
Yes, exactly.
It's kind of that's a classic thing.
Yeah. And it feels a little Firefly to me. Yeah, that immediately when I heard about, kind of the combination of different characters and you doing stuff for money in space, and you're kind of on the outer rim of space. And the thing I've also heard is, little traveler-like, and there's been a lot of board games, sci-fi board games, where the miniatures and a lot of the tile sets and things work really well for this. So people are really happy that they're already set up for having, all kinds of terrain and little objects and things, plus very sci-fi looking boards to play this on. And people are also talking about this works well even with Star Wars. If you want to do like an outer rim, which will come up later, if you want to do like an outer rim bounty hunters kind of thing, there is a setting, like the game itself does have a setting, but you can, along with kind of using whatever miniatures, maybe shift the setting to something that you always wanted to play. And if you like this rule set, and it is a very very reminiscent of Mordheim or Necromunda.
Hence why that book's on the table.
Yes,
right.
yeah. The way that it's a D6 system. There's armor saves, there's to hits and armor saves and things, and your characters are just out. If they take a hit, they're out. It's not keeping track of hit points and everything. They're either down or out, and then you get to decide between scenarios what that means. Did they die? Did they recover completely? Do they have a
Do you roll on a
wound
table, or do you just
there's a table to decide. Yeah, just like Frostgrave. We did that with Frostgrave as well. So there's a couple of scary rolls that you can make in determining the fate, but. And hopefully in the system, there's also, like I think in Frostgrave, you can kind of mitigate that they won't die because, you can either resurrect them or you can get a +1 or something if you have a certain, some like a med bay or something on the ship will give you a less chance of them actually dying. But so fast-moving system built for solo gameplay from the ground up, but you can also play it cooperatively, I've heard people say. And
you could, or I imagine you could just give different players control over different miniatures and
Right. Yeah, so and that's the nice thing about even though it's geared for solo, it's kind of a game masterless, referee-less
or a GM full.
Yes. Or that too. And so it sounds good, and there's been a lot of activity, and a lot of people are doing very narrative. I've seen YouTube channels that people are reading a narrative and doing a story and really setting up each of these scenarios and kind of playing it in a very storytelling style because they're soloing it and to make more interesting content. And a lot of interaction, and that may have been what Modiphius paid attention to, why they noticed it.
No, I didn't realize that 5 Parsecs from Home was up to the 3rd edition because only recently, the past couple days, I'd seen a little bit of chatter about it, and so assumed it was new. Didn't realize it was this old. But I wonder how it compares to Stargrave. Not Stargrave. Well, okay, Stargrave and the successfully funded Ironsworn Star. I'm going to get it wrong. Starforged?
Yes, Starforged. Yes.
So because they're both solo games, Starforged doesn't have any miniatures, but there's no reason why you... Yeah, there's not really tactical combat. So I'm curious to see...
kind of represent, though. You could. Yeah,
you could. I mean, but at most you'd have a figure to represent yourself or your character and kind of positioning stuff. But there's not a lot of movement kind of rules and stuff. So I'm curious to look at 5 Parsecs from Home. If it is touting itself as a miniatures kind of war game, then I want to see how they made, kind of positioning and all this stuff kind of matter. And how they turn it into a solo game.
Yes, it relies on, from the few examples that I've seen, it relies on ranges and AI of the characters. And there are rules like you can only shoot at the nearest character and things like that to kind of limit your options. So you can't take too much of advantage of just placement of things so it all works to create. And I think the scenario also dictates where you start. You've got 5 turns to get in and out. There's ticking clocks and things that motivate it. But it is RPG light. So more like Mordheim. You're not playing Warhammer Fantasy role playing. You're just you give your characters names. They have kind of identities, and they do level up. They gain experience that you can spend in different ways. But so it probably the sci-fi Ironsworn will probably have a lot more in depth about the world, world building and what you're creating. This is just, and that's why I think you can kind of reskin it with Star Wars or Firefly or whatever. It's just it can be whatever you want because it's not that specific. It's just it's this kind of heist, this kind of scenario.
Leave stuff kind of open, kind of I guess kind of a bit like Frostgrave or Stargrave, where you're kind of getting data points or data tokens, and you kind of get to determine what they are, or based on the scenario that determines what they are.
Yeah, and I'd like to have a look at some of the tables and things. So this is definitely something I'm interested in because you can do a lot of things with it, and I've got a lot of sci-fi miniatures. So there's so there's a lot of stuff, and that leads me to yet another miniatures war game, which is this is very similar to that kind of thinking. This has existed for a while. This isn't a solo game, but it's another miniatures agnostic game. And this was also created by people that have a lot of experience in wargaming. So Reign in Hell. So this is a demonic skirmish combat game. So fast and brutal miniatures, agnostic, tabletop wargaming. So this is, of course, just a rule set. There's no miniatures, but it gives you the setting of your cabal of demons is against your opponents to determine who will reshape the ruins of hell. So basically, everyone is in hell. Everyone is fighting for the power and control of hell. So do you want to restore hell to its former glory or tear it all down and watch it burn? But it's probably already burning.
It's already burning. Throw some more fire on that fire. Yeah.
So this is designed by Adam Loper and Vince Venturella, who he does Warhammer Weekly, so he's pretty heavy into a lot of the Age of Sigmar and 40K Games Workshop stuff. Interesting thing about this game is they're specifically saying, so this is a skirmish game, so it's 2 players.
Right.
And the thing that they chose is to go with the Warcry or Kill Team kind of 22 by 30 play area. So you already have those. And the numbers and Warcry is kind of I don't think Warcry is in the Warhammer universe. It's kind of like another, an alternative setting. So there's different factions and things. I'm not sure. I don't think they exist in. I think Warcry is it's like its own thing.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And it's themed that way, so there's a lot of demonic and kind of bloody, kind of more violent feel for the characters, and they're just like clashing against each other for brutality points or whatever it is. This is a similar thing. So it reminded me, like we played War Master. It's reminded me of that. So people, if they have any dissatisfaction either with the rule set or if games stop being supported well, hey, now you have a rule set, and you can directly support the creators of this rule set using miniatures and things. Maybe you loved your Warcry band. There's not really been support for it, or you're kind of like not happy with the direction of the game or what they're doing with it. So
jump ship.
Yeah, you've got a rule set, an indie rule set that you can use, and so I think that's going to put some pressure on big companies. That
you think so?
Yeah, to take care of their games, because it's just like that's going to take it's taking customers away. They have purchased. They've been making all of these purchases for you. They're not on the mouse wheel of your meta and keeping up with your newest releases. They love the miniatures you produce. They love that style of game. Hey, wow, somebody is making a rule set closer to what I want to play, and I don't have to buy an updated expansion or rules. Kind of artificially expanded rules every 6 months or whatever.
Maybe like we were talking last week prior to finishing our War Master game. Maybe the combination of kind of indie rule set or alternate rule set plus 3D printing would start to put pressure on big companies like GW, and I can't even think of any other big miniatures company apart from maybe Privateer Press, but I don't think they're as big. But because if you're continuing to buy GW miniatures, they're kind of like, well, okay.
Yeah, whatever you want. Yeah, we don't have to make rules anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Yeah, because those rules kind of suck. Anyway, no, but if you're doing both of those things, if you're going elsewhere for the miniatures, which is becoming much easier with 3D printing, and the rule set, well, then the miniatures company might start taking notice. And
yeah, and it's interesting because like Mantic is a company that's kind of trying to fill in the gaps, like trying to benefit from mistakes that Games Workshop makes, things that they've abandoned, or different things that don't exist in 40K or have kind of fallen out of the narrative or the lore, and so. That's an expensive way to do that, though.
Yeah.
So if you're just saying, hey, your old metal miniatures, here's a rule set to play with those and enjoy something flavored, like you don't have to dig up those old filthy books off of eBay, you don't have to dig up old books from old, 20, 30-year-old rule sets. Here's something updated that might fit a better sensibility and also have in mind what's available as far as 3D models, 3D printing for models or existing miniature lines. So it's an interesting change, and I hope they take notice and at least stop with this half-assed releases of these boxed games that they're just like, whatever, this will make money. We'll do a big hype, big release, sell it out, and then whatever, that cursed city thing that happened.
The cynical part of me says that that will not happen until fans start going, we're not going to buy that.
Yeah, and all that's going to do then is they're just going to lean on their 40K. They're going to lean more heavily into a competitive meta that's making people buy more stuff from 40K because they're already. It's just to just keep up with what's happened so far in 9th edition is ridiculous.
I haven't even looked at 9th edition. Yeah, and I won't.
Yeah, so it's an edition that's been released almost completely under quarantine. The UK is still well within kind of threatening people, threatening to shut things down and restricting people meeting. So what is going on? What meta is
get your painting in?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yes. So Reign in Hell is a D12 system.
Ooh,
okay. As far as I understand, so you got to kind of collect. I mean, and D12s are interesting because we were talking about the neglected die.
Yep.
But they work well because you've got, a D3, a D6, and a D12.
And a D4.
Yeah, and D4, right, and D4. Yeah, so you've got some flexibility for kind of simple rolls or determining what happens where. So that works in an interesting way. And so I think that's why people are paying more attention. And they're fun to roll. They're more fun to roll than D4s.
Definitely more fun to roll than D4s. And they don't roll forever like a D20.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. They don't have quite the same momentum. Yeah, so it sounds fun. So a quick, fun, and hell themed skirmish game. So this is if you enjoyed Chaos Warriors battling it out for the approval of their gods. This is just what it was. It's hell. Let's impress Satan, shall we?
I'm gonna have to take a look at this then.
Yeah, it looks nice, and a lot of people are talking about it because I think they have a lot of, especially on YouTube, because they have a lot of friends in the kind of YouTube community. So a lot of people are giving it some promotion. So I thought it would definitely be worth mentioning because it looks fun, and they made some interesting choices. The flavoring is great. It's very metal and hell. Very demonic. So that works fun for that kind of bloody skirmish.
Cool
Style. Well, now we have legal precedent
to say Star Wars sucks.
Yes, to say that Star Wars sucks, and specifically,
I like how I'm sitting up for this part, especially
specifically, Disney 2 films of the Disney Star Wars trilogy.
Okay.
So this is very odd. This is just for fun. This isn't anything very serious, but so the last 2 installments of the sequel trilogy, a Ninth Circuit Court judge, Kenneth K. Lee, made reference to The Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi as mediocre and schlocky in a legal decision that was made. So this case...
Okay, interesting. What was the case about?
This case has to do with ConAgra Foods, who was branding their Wesson oil as 100% natural.
Okay.
So see if we can follow this.
Okay.
And I guess they sold Wesson oil to another company, and the new owner wants to resume using the 100% natural label. And the lawsuit is about depriving them from doing that because they are saying it's not under their control, so you can't. It's just the use of 100% natural is in dispute, and so so depriving the class of any value theoretically afforded by the injunction. So ConAgra has essentially agreed not to do something over which it lacks no power to do. So basically saying, you can't use 100% natural because we can't guarantee that what you're doing is 100% natural, but has nothing to do with them anymore. So the judge made an equivalent argument by saying, this is like George Lucas promising no more mediocre and schlocky Star Wars sequels shortly after selling the franchise to Disney. He has no control over that, and guaranteeing that it's 100% natural Star Wars is beyond his ability, right? So such a promise would be illusory. So that's what the judge gave that example. Used that example.
Interesting.
And so it is actually that is exact. Well, hello.
Yeah.
That is the exact quote that he references in his decision. So I thought that's great. We have legal case file now that we can refer to if you're arguing with, I kind of liked it. I thought it was no, it legally sucks.
Okay. As someone who actually liked, what was it, the second one?
It's like,
liked better than The Force Awakens. Mm-hmm. Didn't see the third one. Okay, I guess I have to accept the fact that
legally it's mediocre and schlocky.
Mediocre and schlocky. But I thought it was okay. I just think it's hilarious that a judge, which you think of. Well, I mean, hey, Star Wars came out in the 70s, right?
That's true.
So, you think of judges being kind of old, out of touch, not doing pop culture stuff. And then Not the case.
But yeah, as a judge, this would be the first thing that kind of popped into your head. Oh yeah, it's just like George Lucas. And
Yeah, that's a bit weird, right?
Yeah, so in the legal the legal briefing, finding, whatever you call it, I don't know, I don't have the vocabulary, but it's actually just a note. Like the specific George Lucas Star Wars reference is actually like a notation at the bottom. But it is funny because in the decision that was actually mentioned.
Hear that, nerd? Star Wars, or at least those 2 Star Wars movies, legally suck.
Yeah, they do. There was no guarantee of no guarantee of quality there, even though George Lucas did make that promise.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I mean, he said there will be no more, and he wasn't within his legal power to do that.
Well, what he meant is there will be no more made by me.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, I thought that was just a funny detail. Not wargame related, but I thought it was a funny detail.
Well, he kind of tied it in with the being able to play 5 parsecs from home.
Oh yeah,
in the Star Wars.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah. That was definitely a Star. Yeah, that came up as something. Yeah, and that's interesting because that's going to start happening, and especially with how the internet is, influencing fandoms and stuff. Instead of just being angry at the company that owns the IP that you have some connection with, it's just like, okay, fine, whatever. I'm going to go play with my toys in the sandbox the way I want to do it, and I don't care what else happens,
I think it takes a level of maturity that some people don't have to be able to do that. Like, if you're that tied up in an intellectual property that you feel you have some ownership over it, where in fact you do not, then I don't think those people would be like, keep your stuff, I'm going over here. I'll think they'll just throw a tantrum and say, why did you do to my whatever?
Right. And keep giving them money. And
in the hopes that it's going to get better. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so we'll see. And hopefully we're going to get to the end. I mean, this is just being produced, I think, by the way that companies, all kinds of companies, movie studios, all kinds of entertainment, now even like tabletop, is just trying to feed you old things. We're going to reprint the old Dune board game. We're going to feed you, here's Necromunda again. Remember Necromunda? Here, take it. Buy it again. And the nostalgia, that just feeding your childhood back to you, or things that maybe you missed, or you missed when they were happening, or you miss, in a nostalgic sense.
Yeah, kind of both senses of the word.
Yeah, right. And so maybe this sort of thinking will finally push people into, hey, well, let's just make new stuff. Why are we letting these companies, just regurgitate this garbage back on us when we can move forward?
Are you sure you want the companies to make new stuff when Disney is churning out stuff like Cruella?
Oh, yeah. You mean lady jokers? Joker for ladies?
Yeah. No, again, it's related, but like so many tweets online about Disney had a movie where, to justify her hate of Dalmatians kill her mom.
Right.
You're like, anyone who has ever wanted to write content but felt you weren't good enough, take your shot.
Right.
Because if Disney's turning out shit like this, what's to stop you from taking your shot too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's odd that what is with this? Like, we have to have sympathetic backstories to every Disney villain?
You know why? Because Disney's propaganda.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at all those Marvel movies and stuff. It's propaganda. Yay, hey, so I just lost us all viewers, didn't I? But I don't know. With the nostalgia thing, I don't think it's inherently bad because, I mean, okay, companies got to make money, unfortunately. And if people are willing to buy it, then why not? I think it'll get kind of silly if that's all we continue to see.
Yeah. And sequels and things of existing. I just hope, and the thing is, the big companies it's going to be like independent creators that are going to move ahead and move on and then attract audiences, and then the big companies are going to, try to buy them out or try to catch up or imitate what they're doing. So I hope we see that. I hope we see more prominent projects that are completely new ideas that are moving forward, and not just, hey, this is this again. Remember, spending all that money to just buy a name to put on a marquee. They've been doing that to us for too long. That's been,
Unfortunately, I think that's only going to work if people buy the new stuff, because again, looking at Disney and all the studios they've bought and then killed projects where you're like, that was 75% done. So can we get someone to break up this monopoly where if you're just going to buy everything, then there's no way we're going to get out of that. So.
Yeah, and that temptation, that Faustian bargain where you're just like, oh, so I can actually cash out on my genius? Oh, wow, you're that interested? Yeah. Just like, no, they're eliminating you as competition. They're not saying that what you're doing is, so we will see. So yeah, that is all. And yeah, so all of this just reminded me, noticing these articles just reminded me of like why we were attracted to War Master, and how you can look at a fan second edition of a rule set that's 20 years old, print miniatures for it,
in desperate need of cleaning up,
right? and put it on a table. Yeah. So I think that's a nice thing. I can't believe how quickly we were able to, when you think about games of that scale, and even if
we were playing like a half-size game, it was 1,000 people playing 1,000 points, and you can play like 2 and up to 5. I think you said.
Right. Yeah. So it gets the game scale's pretty amazing, and it's fast how quickly to table we could get a game of that scale and how inexpensively. It's amazing how with 3D printing, when you're just you've got just units that are just duplications. It's so nice to be able to do that, to have that kind of control. Yeah, because even if it was 2,000, I think the price of individual units, the metal units.
Oh my goodness! I can't imagine what the price.
It would have been hundreds and hundreds of dollars to do an army of any scale.
Yeah. So, eagerly awaiting for my bottle of resin to show up. So I can start printing stuff.
Yes.
But, looking forward to playing War Master again. And like you said, the appeal was, kind of nostalgia a little bit. Having never played it before, but wanting to see how an older game played. And then the appeal of similar games like Necromunda and Blood Bowl and any kind of skirmish thing like Frostgrave, which kind of going to get back to where you're only looking at a handful of miniatures rather than needing like a giant bookcase just to house your army. It's like, nope, I can fit this in a shoebox or any kind of small thing. I mean, well, apart from, like we said last time, the thing you can't fit in a little box is the play space.
Yes, right.
But even like the Rain in Hell, the 22 by 36, however big that is, that's not a big size.
Right.
So they were probably thinking of not portability, but kind of that one aspect of accessibility where you don't need that much space to play.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing. Yeah, skirmish games too, the smaller the play area, the more you're into it. The less you're kind of, okay, we're going to hide over here and work our way around.
Okay, so turn 3 of just advancing. Anyone within range? No. Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah, and this latest War Master interest has also made me look at the other game systems that either still exist or used to exist that are using troops in rank.
Okay.
So we have Oathmark. So that's
I didn't realize
that's the creator of Frostgrave.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was. What scale is that?
It's 28.
28, but
you can we can scale. So we can scale anything now. So we can try Kings of War, the latest version of Kings of War, or anything even. Actually, I don't think it's in ranks, but it is square bases, like the old Confrontation and everything. Okay. There's so many things that now we can just try the rule set because we have armies. If it's just standard fantasy armies, we can try every rule set that is ranking those troops up, and just do a little bit of quick calculation to change ranges and things.
I think One Page Rules has Age of Fantasy. They got 2 versions, like Age of Fantasy Skirmish and Age of Fantasy Regiments. And Regiments is the Warhammer Fantasy Battles where everyone's on a square base and you rank up and
right.
like that. So
yeah. So it'll be fun to. There are a couple of, and even the old. We'll be using elves and dwarves, but we can even take a look at Black Powder, like the historical, and just find equivalent proxies, and also there's a ton of historical 3D miniatures in the 10 or 15.
Oh yeah, I imagine
scale. So we can go many different directions and just by rule sets. I mean, that's really amazing.
Yeah, I like that.
All right. So where can people find you?
On Twitter, pretty much the only place now. That's Hivemind, HYVEMYND, where I'm still continuing that massive thread of Cardhammer Fantasy Battles, which is magic size cards for each unit.
Excellent. Oh, very good.
Hoping to get a playtest packet out soon. Writing rules is a pain in the ass, especially when you got, especially when it's not a TTRPG and you can't say do whatever's good for the narrative. Nope, you got to write the shit out like
yes.
All right. Here's exactly how you do it. Here's all these edge cases and
yeah.
So that's a real pain.
And then find out in playtesting how people are going to just
exactly.
tear it apart.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like But that's why you play test. So,
of course.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, so I'm still doing the weekly live stream for the Abuse Cartoons. So Abuse Cartoons on Twitch and YouTube, and then abusecartoons.com is the website, and then gocomics.com/domestic abuse is the archive of all of those if you want to do a little reading first to see if you even think it's funny.
And if you don't comment.
Right. Yeah, so that's Monday nights, North American time, Tuesdays afternoons, or around lunchtime here. Yeah. And if you'd like to support what's going on here with the weekly, please visit patreon.com/upturnedtable and become a weekling. We will. We have a growing army of
Weaklings. That's never not going to be funny.
fans of a weekly show. And also the other things we do, the lore videos and actual plays when we can actually play something. So game reviews and just kind of flip throughs. The most recent thing that I did a flip through for was the 2D20 Dune.
Oh, right.
That arrived, the Modiphius Dune. And so I did a long flip through of that core book so you can see everything. I was surprised there wasn't as much art. I got really excited about the art with the little starting adventure, the playtest adventure. They put art on that and did the graphic design, and it looked wonderful. So I can't wait to see the book. And it was pretty art light, yeah. So that's too bad because, and I guess there may be reasons for that. I mean, cost, but also how screwed up the film release and everything was. Maybe they just didn't have access to pre-production stuff because it's inspired by, not directly, like you don't see one-to-one like celebrity likenesses, but it is inspired by the design of the new Dune movie. So we shall see. So thanks for joining us. We do this every week at this time, and it is a live stream, but there's also a podcast. So wherever you listen to podcasts, do a search for Upturned Table, and you will be able to listen to us go on and on in the same way every week about very random things. This week it's wargaming, rules agnostic.
Yeah, it's still fun.
Yes. So thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week.
Later, mortals.
Goodbye.